Welcome to Wither Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we're reading Amari and the Despicable Wonders by B.B. Alston, and today we're discussing chapters 13 through 15.
But before we can get onto all of that, let's talk about what happened previously on Wizard Team. In the last episode, we learned about the marvels of location magic via our friend Lucas, who honestly has probably the coolest location magic ever heard of. He can track you. He sees you when you're sleeping. Not really, but it kind of feels like that. And we're down with it for the most part because Lucas is down with us, so we're gonna roll with that. Quentin and Amari are being equally stubborn about Quentin having to come in and save the day because Amari was not first didn't follow orders, and secondly didn't share when she was in trouble because she couldn't because she was in trouble. And Amari is annoyed with Quentin for stepping in and then stepping away. So there's a lot of sibling issues there. We also learn that Dylan has big plans for the prime minister. Is it what's the
I think that she's interim prime minister, I think, right now.
Yeah, she's the prime minister.
For me, I'm just like, this is America. Why is it prime minister? It's just like my brain was like having a moment.
This is America.
This is America. Excuse me? Prime minister. Okay. He has big plans for the person in charge. And it's all related to like the Victory Gala, and so in Marlowe creating the Victory Gala and pulling all these people from the borough together just to save face and seem like she's on top of it all. She's walking straight into Dylan's big plans, and they're very sinister plans. We don't know the full scope of them, but we know they're not good. Finally, we find out that the resistance that Lucas has been telling Amari about and cluing her in on. Oh, it just happens to be two people who work together in person. Everyone else is kind of like a whispered network. And so the people who are actually getting things done are literally two teenagers who are like a year or so older than Amari. So, shoe, lace budget, rubber
resistance.
I believe the children are our future.
That's what Whitney said.
I feel like that's so funny because the magical resistance is just two kids in a trench coat. It's like how I've been feeling a little bit about like the current modern day resistance too. Well, not. I mean, there are people doing like real work, but I'm in terms of like the opposition party. When we go and like look at them, it's like, oh, you're supposed to be the head of our resistance, and you're on a book tour. That's cute. That's cute.
It's not even head of resistance. It's like, is this your king? Like looking at the the opposition, like you're our opposition party. This is our king. Yeah. Okay,
we're doomed.
Sure.
This is the resistance y'all putting up. Great.
At least Lucas and Hannah are. They've got some.
They're trying. They got gumption.
They're trying.
You know what I mean?
They've got some. Yeah, they've got some aspirations.
They don't have no.
They got some plans.
They got something.
They don't have very many resources, but they're doing the best with what they have, and
they got gumption at the end of the day.
Gumption. Also wanted to point out like half a plan and a plucky attitude, which should have been last week's title, also applies to Lucas, and I think it applies to like all these kids.
Yeah, but together, the power of with their powers combined. I mean, they're still struggling, but
little Captain,
they're doing the best.
Maybe little Captain America. I mean, Amari does keep like rubbing her victory ring. They all just need little Captain America, Captain Planet rings, and then with their powers combined. What were you saying, P?
Oh, I was saying what's sad is that that this is more movement than the adults who have been around for 600 years. So
on both sides. like
both
on
sides.
the boat. Unfortunately,
Arlo
like
and Cosmo. Yeah.
yeah,
And then
but like Dylan's doing more than Cosmo was
Yeah.
doing, and Amari's doing more than what the Bureau is doing. So
Merlin and the
whew,
Bureau.
Merlin's best
Mer-
plan was to pull a rock out of his pocket at the last minute. Like, this is Mans' agent. His best choice was pulling a rock out of his pocket.
he said, "I'm gonna take a nap."
He said,
Please,
Odin sleep.
hold it here.
Not Odin sleep.
Oh, he did. Oh no. Good luck to y'all. I'm taking a nap. Okay. On that note, chapter 13. On that positive, things are gonna be okay. So Amari, Elsie, and Jaden decide to think about the Victory Gala and their plans to, if they're gonna disrupt it or not, sleep on it and then discuss it in the morning. I was talking to
I'm sorry. Because if you don't hear Danny DeCane's, I'm asleep on it and get back tomorrow. If you don't hear that when you say sleep on it, then who are you? Are you not a millennial?
I am not,
I'm sorry.
apparently. I'm just an old
Apparently not.
lady because that's not that I didn't.
That's an immediate reference, Danny DeCane. Sorry, you may have
My bad.
your time back. I'm sorry for embarking on your time.
I'm
Yeah.
reclaiming my time. So I was just talking to my friend, and she was like saying how like that whole idiom about not going to sleep mad is stupid because sometimes you do need to sleep on things before you say something you regret. And I was thinking about that when I was reading this because like, Amari's like, well, we decided we're going to sleep on it and discuss it in the morning, but I'm going no matter what.
Right? She was like, I don't actually need to make a decision. Like, I know.
She said,
I know who I am.
Whether you agree or not, we're a team until y'all decide to go against me, and then I'm gonna do it anyway.
But I also think it's, at least it read to me more like we're each gonna decide if we want to go. Like, I think she's like, I'm going whether y'all come or not. Which,
and I feel like I don't, just from like who we know Elsie to be, I feel like Elsie's thinking we're gonna decide as a group, like either you like the Three Musketeers, you know what I mean? One for all for one. Like if one person doesn't want to go, we're not going. And Amari just was like, no hard feelings if y'all want to stay here.
I assumed, well,
I feel
Jaden
like
definitely
Amari's
did, but because I was like, at the very least, Jaden was like, I already know, like it's not going to be a surprise what Amari decides to do.
Exactly. I just think that like Elsie just continues to hope that Amari has a little bit more chill than she's ever shown capacity before.
I feel like Amari is moving like there's no I in team, but there is an A, and A is for Amari.
There is a me. That's what I always say. There's no I in team, but there is a me. There is a me. So Amari is also like so annoyed that she can't get in touch with Quentin that she runs into Mr. Chamberlain and he's like, oh, never mind. I thought I was grumpy. Like, and Jaden decides to make her feel better about this by letting her know that he really cares about Amari. You know, just like a good friend and whatever. Just
a friend. It's so cute.
Just a friend who likes watching trees.
Yeah.
And that tree happens to be Amari.
A future arborist, if you will, you know? He's like, you know, I know you're upset with Quentin, and y'all aren't seeing eye to eye right now, but like, don't forget that y'all really go up for each other. Y'all love each other. And then she looks like, oh, that made me feel a little bit better. And he's like, gotcha, got her. And then me as a reader was like, what is this? So Amari is waiting for Elsie because Miss Chamberlain needs her to go breathe on the stove.
Breathe on the beat in a beat gas like
I don't know if you guys have had to do this. I have one. Well, I don't anymore since I had someone like clean my stove, and now this isn't a problem. But like you have that like pilot stove that like click click click, but you need to use a lighter to like get it to go. The fact that lighter is Elsie.
It's so funny.
And then she's like, I would use my own flame because keep in mind, Mrs. Chamberlain is constantly on fire. she's like, I'd use my own, but it would ruin the food that is already inedible. So,
Right.
you know, just wondering what that's all about. So while they're waiting for Elsie, Amari logs into her Yorg account and sees all of these influencers who are excited about the party. But then when she tries to post a warning, she finds out that her account has been disabled. She is still able to like check her messages though, because she's. I love that her first response, like, I'm going to send a strongly worded email to Erg for like giving in to Harlow's
To her,
demands.
which, you know what? Honestly,
I love
yes.
it.
But it's also it cracked me up so bad that she was like gonna post on social media, "Don't go, it's not safe." Like,
Right.
girl, they ain't heard from you
Right.
in what weeks at this point. Everybody
You're
like,
like,
not that
Like, is this
everyone
even
will
a real
believe
account
Harlow,
anymore?
but this is your
Is this a
first
bot?
statement. This is your first public
and
statement
also
while
like
you're on the run.
everyone,
Hilarious.
they have been telling everyone that you are like a part of this, like you're on Dylan's side,
Right, and
or
that you're a traitor, and that you're what's it called? You're like Supernatural's most wanted, and you're like
yeah,
just posting, "Don't go to the thing." Like, I think it's hilarious. I
don't
don't
go
think
to the
it's necessarily
party.
wrong, but it's funny.
It's just like, every little bit helps.
Just gotta do what you can.
um so as she's like going there, she sees how many messages she has. But the messages that stick out to her are ones from Laura Van Helsing, Portia's favorite character from the Portia's favorite family. And Laura sends her these like video messages telling her that she thinks Harlow is making her forget what happened in the Congress room, and that the last thing she like remembered was that they were all together, and then she woke up and then that Amari and Elsie were gone, and that they had like were traitors and turned on her, but she doesn't believe it. Um, and she doesn't believe Harlow or her father. And then in another message, Laura saying she thinks Harlow is able to control people, and she's like warning. She's like, I still haven't heard from you, but if you get a message like from me wanting to asking to meet, or like anything saying that Harlow is a good person or something, like, don't believe me. And I kind of love this because we get to see a little bit of like we already found out through Magnus that like Harlow's mind control only goes so far and only lasts for so long, but like that there is some sort of like when the fog, I guess, clears, or when they get a little bit of when they start to like become a little bit more clear-headed, there is like this distrust that like remains, but as she's like telling her about this and about her suspicions about Harlow, she gets a video call from Harlow while recording the message, and like keeps recording. So Amari is able to watch and witness how Harlow controls Laura through a video call and orders her to attend the gala, because she says like Harlow tells Laura like, I heard you're not attending, and Laura tries to be like, oh, I'm feeling under the weather. And then you kind of get to see in action Harlow, uh I want to say convincing, but she kind of like forces her to. She like tells her she's going, and then it starts to tell her that she should like look her best or whatever, and then goes, no, actually you're going to go and you're going to be working with all the other junior agents because you're on my side and I'm in control, type of thing. So you kind of also get to see Harlow's you get to hear Harlow's like thought process, but also her kind of insecurities about it. Like, and Amari thinking like, oh, she's the reason why all of these influencers are all over Jorg talking and posting and being excited about this party, and like saying how anyone who's anyone is going to be there is because she's going around like forcing all these people to show up.
And also to like help, like, she can't shape her image on her own as much as she has this
Right.
power. Like, you kind of see like the way she's talking to Laura is like, we need the teen contingent, right? And like later we'll get into like when she's talking to Amari, thinking that she's what's her name, Mrs. Chamberlain, and just like she's still, her position is not settled,
right?
I guess.
But it also, I think, does a good job of showing like a little bit of her insecurities too, even with her power. Like, she needs these influencers, but she also doesn't want to be overshadowed by these influencers. So she's like, you need to come, and I want all the teams to know, but then, oh wait, no, I also want them to know that like I'm in charge, and like you answer to me. And I just feel like it's a cool little like input into like her psyche, because you would think that someone with the power that Harlow has would feel more confident in like not only that ability, but I feel like this is like welcome to armchair Dr. Phil with Robyn and Amari and the Despicable Wonders, but like I just feel like it's like one of those weird things where it's like she still wants kind of I think you see that she kind of still wants people to like respect and look up to her without having to be coerced. Not that she's not above coercing them, obviously she will, but like it feels like she still wants other people to like just kind of naturally believe in her and in her like influence and power. So Amari tells Elsie and Jaden about that message, and then states that she wants to rescue Laura and that she's going to do so at the gala, because that's when they know that they'll know where Laura is and like what she'll be with the junior agents and all this stuff. And Elsie suggests that a good distraction and a good way to help them not only rescue Lara, but get people to leave the party before Dylan can do whatever he plans on doing, is to have a dragon crash the party, and shows him that she's able to shift on command. And then says like, oh, I was practicing it all last night, which was to me is like, oh, so it only took her like a night to get really like confident. And so just seeing like the confidence in Elsie and growing and like she was like, I guess you're not the only one that can be brave. And it's like, you've been brave this whole time, but like having that kind of believing in her own thoughts is just like really cute. So they go to Mrs. Chamberlain and ask for her invitation. And then Mrs. Chamberlain is like all about it. She's like, oh, who's gonna dress up as me? You have to have confidence to be me. So Jaden and Elsie are quickly like, Amari, that's you. And she's like, okay, well, I forgot that I have this. You can wear a genuine like Miss Abyss coat. And Miss Abyss was Delacour? Not Delacour. Dubois.
Dubois.
Who's Delacour? That's Harry Potter. Oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Miss Abyss was like Madame Dubois' like mentor. So it's like not only is it vintage, but it's like a deep cut. And the coat like keeps her in shadows and stuff, and then they put her in this big red hat and like a scarf. So like Amari's like, I'm barely even like visible through all this like mass of clothes. And then Miss Chamberlain orders clothes for Jaden and Elsie and gives them like, oh, you're gonna be like, Jaden, you can stand in as my like chief of security, and Elsie, you can be my personal assistant. And then like has Amari practicing her walk and her mannerisms. And she says something like, Quentin just asked me if you can stay here, but he did not ask me to babysit.
She goes, safety schmafety.
She's like, you know what? I got into all kinds of stuff when I was your age. Like, let's do it. Like, she is gung-ho.
But also, like, she's a reality TV star. So she's like, drama? Oh, I live for drama, girl.
Exactly. And it's like, she even says when they ask her, at first she's like, well, of course I'm invited. And like, no event is worth going to if I'm not going to be there. And then like quickly is like, oh, but y'all can go. Like, she's not like, oh, I have to go and be seen. Like, if you guys want to go and like cause a ruckus, like that's even better,
But even more, it sounds like she helped put together, like Harlow tapped on hers to put together the VIP list, because she's like, I wouldn't not invite myself. And I'm like,
right.
Interesting.
Right. It is interesting. I actually didn't pick up on that. That's true. Yeah, so it's just like I thought it was just really cool, like how I feel like the crew thought that they were really gonna have to like give her their best arguments and really convince her. And she was just like, nah, let's do it.
Do it.
And then the invitation becomes a temporary transporter, which takes them to the gala. So they were going to ask if to borrow one of the family's transporters, but they didn't even need to do that. And so once they feel semi-confident, Mrs. Chamberlain's like, you ain't got no hips, girl. So you gonna have to, really work it out. And like, your confidence is gonna have to pull you through. But they feel like this is as good as it's gonna be for an afternoon of practicing and like getting ready to crash this party. They all gather around the invitation and take the transporter to the gala. So some of the notes that I had, and we like touched on it a little bit. One small thing. Let's get this out of the way. When they go see Mrs. Chamberlain, she's in the garden talking to her mother, and her mother is buried. She's at her mother's grave, but her hand is like poking up. Very Addams Family, waves at the kids or whatever. But her gravestone says, "Here lies Tabitha Yeast. Pardon me for not rising." Yeast, not rising. Give this man all of the awards. Are you kidding me?
He's so punny.
The wordplay is immaculate.
Yeah.
I like giggled at that for so long. This is what I think this is like my third time reading this book. And when I read for like, we're about to record and stuff, I'm really just like jogging my memory and trying to like find the things I want to make sure I talk about on here. And I still took my time and giggled because pardon me for not rising. Whew.
It's hilarious.
Hilarious. I mentioned Jaden and Amari's like their little baby flirting. Jaden is the one who's like he's. I'm sorry, but
sorry, I'm trying to mute, but my mouse is so far away, and
it was just the disdain in
these people. I'm like, please, but I think they passed, so we're good.
So Jaden is more like vocal about it, but like, cause he's like, I really care about you, and Amari immediately it's like, me too. Like, they're both dipping their toes in this little baby flirtation, and I am just like, squee. I think it's so precious, and I can wait because they're still children, but like, I can't wait for it to get like come to a head in which they're like holding hands. I might melt into a puddle of like goo. And then I also I think that the opening of this chapter like really shows just how Amari is like still making desperate and like, I don't want to say irrational decisions because they are rational, but they're not like thought all the way through, or not even that they're not thought through, but they stem from this place of like, again, we've talked like ad nauseum about this, of like having to prove herself, but also of like proving herself to Quentin, like her, like before she even remembers, not that she's like completely forgotten about Laura, but before like Laura's top of mind, she's decided she's gonna go no matter what Jaden or Elsie decide. And I feel like it's this like desperate attempt to like, one, kind of reclaim a little bit of the power she's lost. She's lost her magic. But also to like prove to Quentin, prove to herself that she's still, the hero or the good magician. But she's not like giving herself time or really like stopping to like just be sad or just to feel her feelings. And so it's like a little sad, like, 'cause it's a little bit manic, in the way that like she's making these decisions. And I just want to hug the baby. Just breathe, just stop, breathe in, deep breath out, maybe. And I think that like really comes across in the way in which this chapter in particular opens, but then also in like the ways in which she kind of, whenever she's talking to them about going to the gala and stuff, she's like trying to convince them even when they're already on the same page, you know,
Mm,
and are trying to like justify this even when everyone is on board. So I don't know, it just makes it a little sad.
yeah, just like feeling kind of defensive and
Yeah.
yeah, which yeah, I think makes sense.
Yeah, and it totally makes sense. It's just, you know.
But it is, yeah, it's like
It's half baked. It's not like there's no recon that was done beforehand. They don't know, like it's a half baked plan.
yeah.
Oh,
And
definitely.
there's like not a lot of time either, so it's just like
Mhm.
it's there's not a lot of time, but also they're not super obviously they're not like the most like they don't really have very many resources, and they're not like they're still new at this. So a lot of it is like, and we'll just figure it out later. But as opposed to like, I'm sure Quentin and
We'll
Magnus have a
improvise.
more, yeah, I'm sure Quentin and Magnus have a more like
Mm-hmm.
thought out, but you know, they have more people and they have like a protocol and like all that kind of stuff. Whereas, and again,
Because
I don't
why?
necessarily think like we talked about it last episode. Like, I don't think
Mhm.
necessarily that the protocol or the way that they do things is the right way, but it is a system. And Amari don't have no systems.
And you know what
Well,
that
you
is? That's training. And you know what
yeah.
Right,
Amari and them don't
exactly.
have?
She
Training.
doesn't have enough training.
Well,
But again, it's not on her, and I think she's
But it is on
done
her for to
well
jump into
enough.
it knowing that she doesn't know enough.
Yeah, but I think she's done well enough. And I think that again, it's like one of those things where like there are things that they're not seeing because they're so caught in protocol. And then
Mhm.
what's his name ain't answering his phone. So what's his name? Quentin is answering his phone.
Like, tell
you
us
were
how you really
correct.
feel about Quentin
You
today.
were
no, I just
correct.
literally could not think of his name in that moment. But I
No,
got
but you were also correct.
respectfully, I just it dropped out of
Disrespectfully.
my head. Um, but
Disrespectfully. I also think though, like what you were saying, and I again, I barely caught it, didn't catch it at all. Actually, I'm not lying, say I caught it at all. That like Mrs. Chamberlain was influential in building the VIP list, but like talk to her, like, okay, so what do you think it's gonna be like? Do you know anything about the security measures? Do
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like you do have someone that's
Mhm.
like inside. Part of that is lack of
Mm-hmm.
training, but also part of that is just like that desperation and like
Yeah, and her nerves are bad too.
winging it has worked for them so far. And I just love too that they're like, okay, we have a plan. I'm like, that's not a plan.
That's
That's
not a plan.
the
It's
concept
half
of a
baked.
plan.
They know how to
It's
get
the
there, and
It's
then
the
they
bones
have
of a plan.
yeah,
when I say like it's half baked, it's not even half baked. It's like batter. Like you got the
Yeah.
ingredients.
yeah.
Started putting stuff in a bowl, but uh, like Miss Yeast, nothing is gonna rise.
I mean, there's specifically that moment right before they leave where Elsie goes, "Hey, Amari, I just had the thought that Harlow's powers might work on you now because you don't have your magic. Okay, time to
Mm-hmm.
go." Like that wasn't
Thought through
considered
or stop or
in their plan
yeah.
at all. It
There
was
was
just a
no
last
team
minute, oh
meeting.
shit, I just realized. And now it's
Yeah, there
time to
was no
actually
team meeting to
account
think
for
about
it.
contingencies, about
Yeah.
issues. There was no team.
They spent the whole afternoon working on her walk and like how to
Let me
like
see. Walk, 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 walk,
Can I just
walk.
talk about how that whole montage of them in the closet with Mrs.
It's so
Chamberlain
cute.
very much gave like a Raven Baxter kind of throwback?
yes.
Like these are
Mm-hmm.
some teenagers trying to look like some business people. Who are they fooling in this
Lasagna.
wardrobe? These little baby faces, but okay.
And then I
They
also
were
like
lasagna. Now I have to redo the meme.
Hmm.
um I also love the idea of, I mean, Mrs. Chamberlain said it like Quentin didn't ask me to babysit, but like I think Quentin is also like an irrational adult and like Mrs. Chamberlain, yeah, you're a ghost or whatever, but you've been around. You're not just gonna let these babies walk.
You have kids. You have a child.
You have a child. Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, he didn't explicitly ask you to babysit, but like she just as chaotic as everybody else. So
Hmm.
like, even more so maybe. So it's just like really funny uh that yeah, because like even she's not like, hey, so what's the plan beside after you get in? If you get in. Even she's not asking the questions. Like, come
Mm-mm.
on.
Oh, I have one more thing to say about the lack of planning here, because I have problems with it. I clear the planning, lack of planning, and then I have one more thing. So Amari names 3 things that need to happen while they're at this gala, as if they don't need all 3 of them, Jaden, Elsie, and Amari, to do these things. She's like, there's 3 of us, there's 3 things that need to happen, we can make it happen. Not one of y'all is not gonna be able to take out Dylan. Like, that's not possible. You need all 3 of y'all for that. One of y'all is not gonna be able to get all the people safe. You're gonna need all 3 people for that. Like, so you can't neutralize like Harlow or whatever without like all 3. So like that just like it just boggled my mind. I'm like, you think having one person per item is going to be the answer? Like, it doesn't
she
make any
said delegation.
See,
She
I don't
said
even know if
delegate.
she thinks that or if they're just like, this is what we got.
But that's what I'm
Which is
saying.
not an
You
excuse,
didn't think this
but
through. You're just saying words, and it doesn't make it. It doesn't.
They called
I
it a
think,
plan,
yeah,
Porshèa.
I
I
think
don't
the
understand,
problem
like,
is, or not the problem, but I think the thing is that Amari has decided she's doing it regardless. Plan, no plan, friends, no friends, whatever. She don't.
Yes.
So that, and that's like part of the issue.
Her reasoning.
Yeah. Is she's just not.
So here's my thing. If we have a plan, we have a plan. If you're just listing reasons, like, oh, and this is another way we should all go. Like, come on. Like, you're not playing with me. Don't play with me. I know what you're doing. I didn't like, so it just shows me how little this has been thought through. And then the other thing, because I have personal watch lists on this, is that Peekaboo once again tries to make another deal. It seems like he's just like collecting deals, and Elsie's like, absolutely not. And the deal he was trying to set up was just to tell them where his mom was. So it's like he really is just playing. Like, is he actually a thing?
Elsie said, look, it's enough.
Try somebody else. And I said that was my final thing, but it's not, because fashion. That abyss fit sounds like something that would appeal to someone who is undead, because, or who wants to scare people off, because it comes off like a specter. Like, it sounds like it's like you're floating in darkness, and no one can really tell. And because they live in a horror house, I wonder if like she got it thinking like, oh, like this is the fit for whenever I want to join in the shenanigans and scare people away. Like, I just come out of the shadows. But in high fashion.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy that because I love fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. The outfits are hilarious.
I was just thinking about too, like, the idea of like Madame Dubois and Miss Abyss like having like a ghoul, like an undead fashion line as well. Like they, you know what I mean? Like that's like a part of their customer base. I just find that amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Like, instead of having a resort collection, they have an undead collection.
Right.
Resort wear, undead wear. That's what we got, okay?
So chapter 14. Amari, Elsie, and Jaden arrive at the gala and are immediately overwhelmed by the paparazzi, the supernatural A-listers who are also transporting in at the same time, and then this like giant glass mansion that is their destination, is done up for the gala, has all these lights and fireworks and all types of stuff. Extremely overstimulating. And then the agents are at the perimeter checking invitations and magic levels. But Amari is able to throw a Mrs. Chamberlain-esque fit to help Elsie avoid going through the magic meter, because they don't really know how much magic Elsie has, and they know that if it's higher than the like standard like 5% or whatever, that it might flag her as a magician or as somebody, suspicious. So they were just, so Amari threw this fit and then was able to get Elsie and Jaden through.
She turned her diva way up.
All the way up. And then after they split up, and then then Amari spurns the drowned Dom, who apparently, well, we'll get there, spurns her, and then accidentally wanders into Director Harlow's home office. where sorry, wild. So she wanders into Director Harlow's home office where Harlow is, and is also eager to snag an endorsement from an influential member of the undead constituency. But Amari is saved from responding by Tristan Davies, if you remember that hater from Amari and the Great Game, who comes to inform Harlow that they've found Elsie. And before Amari can warn her, or can like figure out a way to warn Elsie, Harlow commands her to forget the conversation. So no longer aware that her best friend is in trouble, Amari heads to the kitchens to find Lara. But Lara thinks that Amari is a traitor to the Bureau and is ready to throw hands. A fight that is unfulfilled when the magicians attack.
Yeah.
So lots going on there.
I feel like I hate it when like the foreshadowing. I hate and love when the foreshadowing is like immediate, because they're like, "Hey Amari, you don't have any magic. What if Harlow's powers can work on you?" And then the very person, and like Elsie is in trouble, and that's you know what I mean. The person who realized is the one who needs you.
Yep.
Like, come on.
But also, I feel like part of the I was keep poking holes in the reasoning behind Amari's quote unquote plans. I feel like part of the thing that's happening here is that Amari's moving like she's still got magic. Like she is. Like she knows she doesn't have magic. She's like, that's why she knows she can go up on the scale, but she's moving around the world. Like she still has her level of somewhat like her fail safe of if things go wrong, I can pop up my illusion magic. And it's like, girl, it's not your sense stick is not your illusion magic. Like we're not in the same place that we were a book ago.
I think too though, like I do get that, and I think that again, I feel like it's kind of the same as like what happened when she kind of threw that fit or whatever, the how dare you or whatever. Like I think part of it is that because she's so afraid, she can't make herself think too deeply about it, or else she's gonna freeze or nothing is gonna happen. Which isn't to say that like, you know, she's doing great right now, but like I think that that's also part of it is like she is so impulsive because she is so scared. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I want to this is like a fun thing and is in part why Mrs. Chamberlain is my MVP. Spoilers. Okay. Amari's costume is complete with fake flames. Because apparently, like, the Real Housewives of the Undead, or whatever it's called, from Beyond the Grave, have, like, Halloween costumes that people can buy. And so, for some reason, Miss Chamberlain has her own costume of herself and has these, like, fake flames, which Amari does forget to activate originally, which is kind of like, girl, get it together. But I just feel like the full fit is really dope and fun. And then again, like Porshèa just mentioned, like Amari's magic levels. So we find out that her magic is at 0.3%. And it's like this moment where she's just like really like sad about that, and just kind of like, you know, it used to go all the way to 100 and now it's like
100.
barely any at all. And it was her, like, you know, it was just something that she was proud of and like something that she loved being able to do, and now she can't. It's just like something that she's having to deal with. So yeah. Okay, the drowned Dom. I didn't know this is how they got down over in the supernatural world, but apparently she kidnapped Peekaboo because of a Halloween disagreement.
You don't remember?
That's the one.
Yeah,
I remember.
That's how Quentin and Miss Chamberlain got close.
Yeah. I missed that the first time, or maybe I just, you know, there's a lot going on. But I'm just like, girl, and then to be like, oh, you're still mad about that. ma'am,
that's ridiculous.
that's insane. You're still mad about that? Is wild.
It's
Like,
about the
it,
time I
like I feel
kidnapped your son. We're not over that
like
yet?
what is the undead Bravo? Like, what are they doing? Because she didn't get fired for that.
Right.
Like,
The lies, the
who
lies,
is the
the
supernatural?
lies.
Yeah, I'm just like, what the
Andy
heck?
Cohen.
Andy
Andy
Cohen,
Cohen.
who's supernatural Andy Cohen, and why is he not on his job? Because she should have at
Because
least missed season 13, but apparently she was there.
the ratings.
The ratings.
Listen, the Di-Fi numbers were undeniable. Okay,
That's so wild.
and that's why the drowned Dom is like, why are you mad? We had our best season. Okay, we all got pay raises. You got 15 new brand deals out of that. Why are you mad?
That's crazy.
It feels like a meme. It's like, I kidnapped your child, but you mad, bro? Like, really?
I kidnapped your
you still
child,
on
but
that? I've moved on.
Did you not get a brand deal? You know? Did you not
I
get
thought we were
personal...
doing a comeback for season 14 as friends, like or an alliance or something.
Aren't you now the faith of the home security for the undead?
Right.
You know? Who did who a favor?
Funny. It's so funny.
I'm sorry, but like, if you touch my child,
yeah, like we're never like what?
We're never. We're still.
Done. It's
We're
over.
not for eternity. We got we're living for eternity, right? We're undead. I got eons to hold on to that grudge.
Literally. But anyway, I would like to know more about the Undead Housewives. I feel like they are entertaining and
like,
I don't know. I just like the world building and like how there's just so many different things, I guess, in this world, and so even the little like sneak peeks we get in the middle of the, undercover mission is fun to read.
I would love to see what Erg has there, like for that channel. Like if they do it like how Bravo does on their Instagram, and they have like a diagram of who's sitting close to their version of Andy Cohen,
right?
During the reunion special,
the seating chart.
And then that season where Peekaboo was kidnapped, where the drowned dame and like Mrs. Chamberlain on either side of the Andy,
right?
And then
that was like an 8-part reunion. That was the reunion. That reunion special still happening right now.
Not 8-part.
How many like scenes are there of Quentin rescuing Peekaboo?
Right? Did he get a confession, or maybe he got like a friend of tag? Quentin shows up. Quentin Peters, friend of Mrs. Chamberlain.
I'm trying to imagine Quentin in a confessional. Like,
I'm trying to imagine like, Peekaboo.
I'm just here trying to do my job. Literally,
Peekaboo
don't know why
being like, Peekaboo being like, I'm trying to make a deal with Quentin, and he's not taking it.
Right.
He's like, actually, I was enjoying my time over here in the Drowned Kingdom. So before we go, I want to go back home.
Like six people owe me favors. I was just getting started.
Oh my goodness. And the last thing was just like, again, being able, like, seeing how Harlow's magic works. Obviously, we've seen it before, but I think like seeing it happen to Amari is a different thing. And I definitely remember reading, when I was reading the book the first time, feeling so stressed at the fact that like she didn't remember that, like, or couldn't remember that Elsie was in danger. And just like sitting there, like she's going off to do this other stuff, and like, yeah, that stuff is important, but it's like, but your girl is about to get snatched. So,
but I did like it helped me think about like Lara though, because there are moments when she's like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Though that also would drive me bananas. That feeling, because as the person who constantly has that feeling, I live in that feeling.
I just did that earlier. I came upstairs and was like, wait, what was I trying to do? Like, I was like, oh snap. I had the thought when I was coming up of what I was about to do, and now I'm here and I'm stuck. Like,
it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just really liked that like sense of unease, like permeating around like however many people Harlow has touched, has got to also breed like I'm wondering like what the vibe is at the bureau. Everyone is like, I just feel like something, and it's making them all paranoid for each other, or you know what I
Well, it
mean?
kind
Like I
of
just I
felt
don't
to
know.
me less like a I'm forgetting something and more like a as soon as I come close to that thought, it goes away or it
Yeah,
gets fuzzy and I forget that I was even having that train of thought. Which I feel like is slightly like there was that one moment, I guess, where she was like gonna text Elsie and Jaden, where it kind of was like a fuzzy thing, but it felt more like a oh, I'm about to come to this thought and like swoop, my whole like it's completely gone. Like you forgot that you
yeah,
forgot it. But I don't know. It's still terrifying.
yeah. But
Any
I
iteration
do
of
feel
it
like
is
she,
horrible.
whenever her brain is getting like touching towards there is a
Yeah.
feeling of like unease, and I
Yeah.
find that to be like so scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I just don't want us to get through this without noting that one, Tristan can fall
Big
on some
rats.
nails because he's the one who apprehends Elsie. So
Mm-hmm.
what did I want to overall, again, this non-plan is a stinker because was Elsie doing where she got caught by Tristan of all people? I'm
Right.
taken aback by
But
all
I
of
think
that.
also it's like her and Jaden didn't really have full on costumes, and I feel like they maybe
Yeah,
forgot that Elsie is also wanted.
on the most wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they are two most wanted, not it's not just Amari. So again, it
And
goes
if
back
they
to
had a
your thought about the plan too. It's like they didn't
yeah,
really account for the fact that Elsie is not. I mean, they had the like ghostly makeup, but if
a
somebody
makeup can
knows
only do
you,
so much. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
And
like
again,
they split up immediately. They didn't even get like the lay of the land together or
mm-mm,
like know
nope.
where, because they don't even
mm-mm.
know the like where each other are in this party. They've never been in this
Haven't even
building
mapped out
before.
where the agents
Yeah,
are so they can avoid the
they
hot
They're
did
just
zone.
texting
not
each
case
other.
the joint.
I mean,
Yeah,
Case
because
the
Amari literally
joint.
nary a casing
wandered
was done.
away from the party and directly into Harlow's office. So it's
Ugh.
just,
And that was my next point.
It fell apart so quickly. So
girl, I was
That
like,
was my next point. What in the world, okay?
oh my
Like,
gosh.
what in the whole world was
Uh,
Amari doing that her lack of she has so little like focus that she just walks in, not even like in Harlow's office when Harlow is in the office.
yeah, she was so stressed out. She was not. Her brain was. I don't know where it was, but it wasn't
And then
on the task at hand.
her answer to like when she finally sees Laura is to take off her disguise. That's suddenly gonna help. Like she's been mind controlled. You're taking off your costume is gonna do what?
ugh.
So
She's cute. You know what I mean? She's cute,
I
adorable,
I mm,
like a
mm,
tree. Cute like a
mm,
tree. Ain't
Cute
nobody
mm.
like
said
a
trees were
tree.
smart. Even though we know Amari's smart, she's
She's
yeah,
not.
She's
She's at,
moving mad right now. She's
she's not at her
moving.
best right now.
in
She's
times of
definitely
stress,
not.
the
Yeah.
the intelligence is the first to go, probably.
Mhm. The planning, the yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai-iced coffee-flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Here on Wizard Team, it's no surprise that we love books. We also love supporting the independent bookstores.
With our bookshop affiliate link, you can not only get all the books on your TBR, but you can support indie bookstores and B&C at the same time.
And if you're not sure what you want, that ain't no problem. Check out our The Plot Thickens list full of recommendations from none other than Porshèa herself.
Head to www.bookshop.org/shop/BlackNerdsCreate to treat your shelves.
Treat your shelves.
Oh, that's nice. That's clever.
Oh my goodness.
That's clever.
Este episodio es presentado por Honda. Descubra la nueva Honda Passport Trail Sport todoterreno. La Passport más todoterreno que Honda haya imaginado jamás. Esta Passport cuenta con mayor altura al suelo, barras de techo en todas sus versiones y neumáticas especialmente diseñados para cualquier terreno. Además, disfruta todos tus viajes con el control de clima de 3 zonas, techo panorámico y opciones como asientos delanteros con calefacción y ventilación. Conoce más en honda.com/Passport.
Well, y'all already know my mood going into chapter 15. So, Lara and Amari are having a confrontation because Lara is not with it when Amari shows herself. She's like, I have to take you in right now. And that confrontation is cut short only because Dylan's voice comes out of nowhere, and when they look out the window they see a line of League of Magicians, and so everyone's like the Mr. Krabs meme from SpongeBob. They're like confused because they're like, I thought Dylan was in a vault. We're at a Victory Gala.
So, sorry, it's so ridiculous, these people. That's why I can't put too much on Amari, because I'm like, everyone else is doing worse.
Yeah.
And only so many of them have been mind controlled, right? Like only so many.
Yeah, some of them are being mind controlled. That's true.
Yeah,
but it's like, yo. But I include Harlow in that though. Like, she's so.
But she's
the
reason.
But she's so like stuck on her appearance and all that stuff that she's not actually doing her due diligence. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you have all this power and you can't make sure 100% that Dylan is caught. Like.
But that's another thing. It's like, it shows how scared you are. You won't even have someone go in there and check because you're scared that they're going to get got.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm going to leave it. So, when wild birds break down, wild in that, like, they're controlled and they're moving erratically. Birds break down the kitchen. Laura's first inclination is to protect the guest. Like, she's like, okay, everything's coming down. The magicians are here. I got to go protect the guest. But Amari's first inclination is to try to snap Laura out of her enchantment by pulling out Laura's phone and then showing Laura the video that she shared with her where Harlow is mind controlling her. But surprise, surprise, Amari's last minute plan fails because Laura's like, this is all misinformation. Like, you're doing things. I don't have time for this. I need to go and save the guest. So she neutralizes Amari, runs off to go to save the guest. Amari then notices that while she's trying to like follow after Laura to continue to try to save Laura from herself, even though Laura's shown many times she don't want to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
Don't save her.
She don't want to be saved.
I'm sorry, but
Amari
she does want to be saved, just not in the.
She just doesn't remember.
She don't remember.
She just gotta read a redosing.
She just to be honest. She tried to say, she was telling Amari to save herself. She didn't ask for being saved. She was telling Amari to stay away.
It's true.
So while Amari is following after Laura, she notices that Dylan's plan seems more humane than she'd expect and is a little bit wary about that. But at the same time, she isn't wary enough about Laura's supernatural abilities that she's been up against multiple times in the last few pages alone, making light work of her when she has zero magical powers and then falls victim to her own stun stick.
Listen,
it's not her finest
she's
hour.
moving in stress.
She's doing her best.
Perhaps she should not be here. And this is a girl who said she could take on Dylan. Like, come on. Come. Anyways.
I mean, well, sort of.
Before Laura, because at this point, when she's at the other side of her own stun stick, Laura's like, okay, that's it. I'm about to put the cuffs on. I'm about to take you in for questioning. Dylan makes a true villain's appearance, pops out of the sky, floats down, and this like stuns everybody Everybody's shocked. They all thought he's in captivity. And this includes Harlow, who is like, oh crap, you're not in the vault? Oh my God. Immediately, she makes the agents go into formation around her to protect her, including the junior agents. She has children circling around her with her big mouth powers, instead of just trying to like sit. Well, their magicians are immune, but you know what I mean. I don't even know if she knows that, but she, instead of trying to figure out a way around it using her own juice, she's over here using junior agents and regular agents to get in between her and Dylan. The power that he sets out blasts the agents back, so their sun sticks don't initially work. What Amari does is she holds up her own sun stick and then waits patiently like a fish for an opening. When Dylan's back is to her, she shoots, stuns him, and then everyone else gets on, I guess, like a stun jumping. They all jump him with their stun guns, stun sticks. But when he rolls around, she realizes it's not Dylan. Cut to all the screens inside of this gala or Harlow's mansion suddenly showing Dylan. He is actually in the Congress room. And what he does is take the time gem from Merlin. He cracks it open a smidge, puts it in the air, leaves it there in the Congress room, and then finds a portal, pops out of there, and we watch, well, the team at the gala, they watch as the gem slowly dispenses anti-magic and then leaves the entire room empty.
BB Alston, you will pay.
You will pay. You will pay. How dare you?
Bro.
So much in this. And I know I am on the soapbox about the lack of planning because I am a planner, but I'm also a planter. I roll with the punches. And this, the lack of clear forethought and strategy is killing me. I think it shows so much about like the lack of training for Amari. Like that, like this is all stuff that like if you don't have it naturally, if you're not naturally this kind of person who's coordinating crap and like thinking through, then you can be trained to do that. And she clearly isn't that person naturally, so she needs that training. But I'm gonna also hark on Harlow because Harlow is old and aware of her range. Like she knows her magical abilities. She can talk and communicate and make stuff happen through the phone. And the best she could do is to put herself into a vulnerable position to be attacked because she was relying on misinformation or they're not checking her information to be sure that she had correct information. That's the best that Harlow, this like centuries old woman, can do. So I've been harking on Amari, but Harlow is also failure in planning a strategy. And
I want to say, and
is a lot.
I want not to sound like I feel like by the end of this season I'm gonna sound like a Quentin hater, but I'm not. But
I am.
I do feel like if you know, like knowing everything about Amari, like not answering her phone call, like, right, like she has information that's valuable for whatever their operation is, or and like the bigger goal, but then also like if they were actually working together and he wasn't like trying to sideline her, then this whole thing would go better because he would be able to show her like, okay, you need to take into account that you
don't have any magic,
can be swayed by Harlow. You need to take into account that you don't have any magic. And you know, like they could have time to actually think through, okay, what do we know about Dylan? What do we think his plans are? You have time to think about, oh, Laura is probably under Harlow's control, so how are we going to get her in a way that doesn't turn out in this way where she's like, what's the word?
Fighting you.
Resistant to it, right? Or literally fighting you. How are you going to get around the fact that she has supernatural agility and you don't? Like, there's just so many like little things that Amari doesn't have. And like you're saying, like it does take training, but she has someone who could have been training her this whole time. And instead he decided that fresh out the coma, he was just gonna go right back to what he was doing and leave his sister on the sidelines, like he didn't pull her into this mess in the first place.
And also, I have two things about Quentin here. One is that he's already had to like come to her rescue and then yelled at her about like not letting him know and not being safe or whatever. And so I do want to be like cognizant of like he's been asleep for 2 years, like the Amari that he knew when he went to sleep is not the same Amari that is now, but he's already seen her stubbornness and her willingness to go like headfirst into something. So not answering her calls like if this was the Jekyll and Hyde thing, I'd be like, okay, you weren't answering her calls, you were hoping that that would keep her safe or whatever, but you've already had to save her ass once. Like, what are you doing?
And she was very clear that she wasn't gonna just stay at the house.
No.
So
she let you know what it was. So you should have answered her call.
But yeah, I just feel like this the only person who's on point is Dylan. I hate to say it. I hate to say he's the only one who is at the top of his game. No one else is at their best.
Nope. He's bringing his A game. Everyone else is bringing C's.
He's playing chess. They're playing checkers.
It is unfortunate, but true.
And at that point, that's one thing you can kind of give is that the person, I'm always going to say the person who is playing the best game is the one who deserves to win the game. And in this moment, he's winning because he deserves to win. It's not like he's just like looking up on the win. Like he's like making the wins happen. Everyone else is just flopping around, and it's really sad. The next thing I want to note is that when Amari is confronting Lara and like trying to like again save a person who doesn't want to be saved, it's coming from a place of, and like the reason why she keeps getting into it and going after Lara and again and again and again is because she keeps remembering that the reason why Lara is brainwashed right now and like is like going through everything is because Mari feels guilty because she left Lara to have to face everything on her own. Like she and Elsie had to make the executive decision to pop out of the conference room and leave Lara there. Okay, but it's a thing of like I relate to that because I remember how much like until like fairly recently where I've confronted like that being guilt motivated and like actively working against it, how much guilt would factor into me feeling obligated or like having like feeling like I need to do something. And it takes an amount of effort to like recognize being guilt motivated, recognize why that's like not a good motivation and how to process it so that you're not constantly moving that way. And so I just feel a lot of empathy for what Amari's going through with that, because I don't even think she's in a place where she's like recognizing the issue with her, like she herself moving in a way that it's about her own guilt and not necessarily about what Lara has expressed to her or has like said that she needed Amari to help her do. And so I feel like again, like y'all are saying, like if maybe she were in a conversation with Quentin and Magnus, maybe they would be able to help her through this. But right now it's just kind of sad to see how she keeps making these decisions that may not be even for the greater good that you think she's trying to work for because she's so reliant on her own guilt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And I feel like, in this case, it is like Lara specifically, but this whole, well, at least up until this point, for sure, it's like she feels guilty about letting Dylan win and about like the Bureau going up and about, Harlow winning and like all that stuff. She feels like it's all her responsibility, which also it's not. Like, you just got here. Mm-hmm. You're 13. Like, and she's not the only one putting that pressure on herself. Like, I definitely think that, like, that pressure of being the good magician and, like, after defeating Dylan in the first book and all that kind of stuff, just, like, added this expectation. Even as, like, kind of as much as the expectation like swings wildly back and forth about like either you're good or you're bad or whatever. Yeah, it just definitely adds to that guilt too.
Yeah. It's a lot of weight to be carrying, no matter your age, but at 13 especially, like it's just that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then my final note is that the ultimate reveal of like Dylan / the League's plan is so sad. Like
and it's
him,
so good,
like
but like
Yeah.
When Amari was like, "Oh, like we misinterpreted which like prime minister he meant," like finally taking him out, like, oh, like that is like the fact that no one was around the Congress room in order to even like impede Dylan even the smallest bit, and that just like I know the agents who are not brainwashed, and even maybe some of them that are probably like really tore up about the fact that like this is what was happening under their time in office. And the fact that Dylan is just like, y'all made me the baddie, y'all sent me to the sightless depths, and I'm prepared to be the full extent of that by taking out the most powerful person in this universe.
Wild.
That's a very deeply challenging place to go.
Yeah. And I also like I really appreciate like it's such a brutal, like I feel like this book is a lot more brutal in some ways than the other two. But in a way that's still like age appropriate and like feels like, you know, we've talked about like the way he's able to balance like the tone and all that stuff. But I definitely felt like at like reading it the first time, I was like, oh, like this is where we're going. Like, oh shit. Like,
No, it definitely like makes you like wake up, like sit up straight and be like, oh, we're not playing around.
You're like, oh, I wasn't ready for that at all. I was not expecting that. And just like the way that he kind of like pushes the plot forward in that way and like really has Dylan like fully, like obviously we know he's descended, but like he's down there. I don't think he's coming back up. You know what I mean?
No.
And I think it was also in some ways, I also kind of think it was necessary. Like all of this, and like narrative wise, I think it was necessary because it's like this old guard. It's like how the Bureau has not been working, and Merlin has been the head of the Bureau for 700 years. So yeah, when you're rebuilding after all this, you presumably win against Dylan and his like wildness, and like you get Harlow out of there, but it doesn't mean like now they're forced to try to make a change. Like they can't just go back to the way that things were. And so I think that is important for the story overall as well, as brutal as it is.
I also I feel like I've said this before, where like you finish the great game, especially with Quentin waking up being like, okay, things aren't looking great, but there is like this like inkling that Dylan has like some good or there's something still lingering there. And then by the time you get to this, and are we halfway through the book yet?
No.
But we're, by the time we get here, you're like, oh no, there is not that there is no redemption, but redemption is not going to look like Dylan joins the gang and we're all best friends again. Like that's not how it's gonna end.
That's over. That's canceled.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel like it's also just like, I mean, it's brilliant on BB's part. And as like a narrative and reading it, it's brilliant, but it's also really jarring, like you said. And it's like, oh, like, and I think, I don't know if he told us this or I don't know, but I feel like it is like one of those things, especially in middle grade books, where you are like, well, some people can't be redeemed. And sometimes no matter how many times you try, or like for someone like Amari too, it's like you can't redeem them. Like you can point them in the way, you can like do all that you can, but like at the end, like other people's choices are not up to you. And like this is one of those moments where it's like, this is Dylan's choice. Like Dylan has to like, and I know that Amari, we're still going to deal with some of Amari like taking the blame upon herself, but like Dylan has to hold this, you know? And that's wild. But, you know. Whew.
Yeah. What a world. Okay, so I guess who is the MVP?
Hmm. Uh, mm, uh,
Portia!
mm,
I'm so shocked.
so
Actually,
conflicted.
I wasn't
Can't.
conflicted, but now I think I have to change mine. I think I'm going with Bayana. Well, can I do both? I'm gonna split the difference.
I can go first. If you like, so I did Mrs. Chamberlain. I reading that first chapter, like she's only in the first chapter, so one of my notes when I finished chapter 13 was like, I know she's only in this, but like I kind of want to make her my MVP, and so I was just kind of holding out till I read the other two. And then I was like, nah, she's still my MVP. Like I feel like she's fun and hilarious. I think that her willingness to like help them was, maybe misguided and maybe irresponsible, but was great and needed. They needed an adult, whether to enable them or whatever. And then also I just love her whole like thing. Like she's just like the fashion and the, she's like, anybody who's everybody
She's
will
her.
like knows me, knows that I need to be in the room and like all these things. And it's like, yeah. And then, yeah. So I just, her lore, all of that. Like I just loved her. And I felt like even though like she was only in chapter 13, like it carried on into the next chapter in terms of them being able to get through into the gala. And yeah, so shout out to Mrs. Chamberlain. I feel like she was a key member of this team of the operation.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm splitting the difference, and I'm going to say Miss Chamberlain for basically everything that you said, but also just like her gung-ho-ness to go along with this and not, I mean, yeah, I would have liked the adult in me, the adult that I am, would have liked her to ask a few more questions, or at least like, yeah, go along with it, but like help them see some of the gaps in their quote unquote plan.
Yeah, but she was not that. She's not
But
that kind of. She's not that kind of girl.
That's not who she is.
She
That's not
said
who she
safety
is.
schmafety,
And
so she does not
yeah,
care.
exactly.
She
And
said,
she
"That
never,
sounds fun."
and she also never claimed to be that girl. Like she never claimed
Mhm.
that, And so I also just kind of love that. Like, yeah, she's only in this, or really only in the first chapter. But both of my MVPs are based on chapter 13. I just felt like
Mhm.
my other MVP is Laura, and I think that less of what Laura did, but being the catalyst to like learn a little bit more about Harlow and like the extent of Harlow's powers, that she doesn't need to even be in the same room with you. Like her voice is enough, which comes back around.
Yeah, it does.
But like that, like bit of foreshadowing, but then also like even when Amari does run into her and is trying to save her, like I don't know, I feel like she is very much, for better or worse, who she is, and I think that like both Laura and Mrs. Chamberlain have that in common, and that's what I really gravitated towards in this section of the book, is just like Laura did just get like re-upped on her mind control, so like it's probably as strong as it has been, but told Amari, like, if I say that Harlow's like, whatever, don't believe me, something is not right. And whether or not Amari was able to hold that, that's not on Laura. And then like Amari discounting Laura's gifts and who she is because you think that you're friends, even though you know she's mind controlled. That's not on Laura either. Like I just love these two women, like, yeah, just being who they are, fully, for better or for worse.
Did that give you enough
good.
time to wrap your
Yeah.
wrap your mind
I
around
can't
your
really go no
MVP
more.
Portia?
No.
She said, "I'm doing it, but I'm not happy about it."
I'm like, doing it. Can I go VIP list? 'Cause I feel like I did not see VIP behavior. Like Miss Chamberlain to me, I enjoy her, but like that is not what makes it VIP. MVP. It makes a VIP. It does not make an MVP. And I think like while she like came in clutch because she had the in with like the invite and like the disguises or whatever, like she like her as like she's and it's that would be outside of her character, but who she is like as the adult in the room, and not even just because of her like being part of the plan. I'm still over her not being a good host. We start off this episode with her asking Elsie to help her light a fire to cook, but not asking Elsie while she's there to help her figure out what to cook for them. So like I'm still like, don't play with my stomach, don't play with my food, like nah. So I'm kind of anti for those reasons. And then Laura is Laura Van Helsing, and I can't. The reason why I put her in like a approximate question mark space for MVP when I started off, like before we started this episode, was because I really appreciated that of like her first inclination, like, yeah, sure, she was like, okay, I should apprehend Amari, but mostly she was just like, I just want to save the people in this place. Like Amari kept throwing herself at Laura. Laura was trying to go save people from the magician's constructs with the bears and all the other wildlife. Like that was like she and Amari had the same level of training, but Laura does have more time with people who like she has families and part of the bureau, but they have about the same amount of training, and Laura still is moving like, I care about saving the people. She wasn't like the control that Harlow has over her wasn't like, I have to go save Harlow. It was like, I have to go save the guest. So
I will quibble with them having the
did
same amount of training though, because Laura did have to go to the like summer schooly thing in London to become a junior agent, plus all of the like tutoring and things that she get with her parents.
When did that happen?
So she's got a little bit more training.
That was before. That was how she became an agent, because she had to do the thing again. I think that was Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
I would say too, though, I was gonna say like I meant to mention it before, like to your point, Porshèa, like I do think it also kind of shows that Lara, like separate from all the Van Helsing mess, like she is a true agent. Like she does actually want to protect people. It's not just for the like status and the Yes.
So that was the reason why I had her tentatively in
that
the
was
MVP
the most...
spot. But
I know I said it. I can't.
But I can't. My spirit does not allow for me to put this in as an entry. So I think I shall go without electing an MVP this episode. I'm going to abstain from that category.
That's so funny.
On principle.
Okay, and then who is benched?
I'll go first.
I can go.
Because, you can go.
I initially was gonna just say Harlow, because again, of like what we were talking about her like not actually having any real like strategy, or like all it is the appearance, and none of it is actually being safe or protecting people or like any of that, and she just kind of bumbled her way through this. But then I was like, okay, Dylan did set off a time bomb in the in the chambers, so he deserves to be benched for that as well, because that was wild. But I have more smoke for Harlow, more in the sense that she was in the episode more, or in the chapters more. But Dylan definitely deserves that, because he's out here being a terrorist. So
he is being a terrorist.
Yes.
He is.
And that's why I also benched him and Harlow. Dylan for his mass atrocity. Like that was a lot of people in that room. Like, and also we couldn't see some folks, but they were also like the unseeable people. Although they were on the bad side.
Also were gone.
They're all there. That's awful. There is no coming back from that. And there's no way that's not benchable behavior. So Dylan has got to be on the bench for that. He should. That is sightless steps. Like, you earned it. You didn't earn it before, but you got it now. Here you go. And then Harlow, for all the reasons that we've stated. Also, like, not to be that girl, but I'm gonna be that girl right now. She sounds like a wannabe. She sounds like she's like very desperate for attention. Like, as soon as she realized who Amari was supposed to be, she's like, oh my God, like, I really need you for the undead demographic. Like, would you be interested? Like, so, and like, whenever she was like hitting up Lara, she's like, I need to, like, you need to be there. I need you wearing your finest. Actually, no, I need people to see you being my underling. Like, it's just gross. Like, who likes those kind of people? No one.
Yeah.
And so on top of everything else that's creepy and icky about Harlow, like her being that kind of like a user, but like a social climber, graspy kind of user is another reason, another mark against her in my mind.
I feel so silly, but I'm gonna stand by it because y'all are like the terrorist, the usurper, the threat to, and I'm like that big brother that sucks though. Answer her phone call, damn it. Put her in a position to win. She's not going to do what you want. So you got to meet her halfway. Help her make a plan. That's a plan. I don't like the way Quentin's moving.
He does know that she's over here not planning plans. So like, I don't. He has no excuses for that, honestly.
We just got through the Dr. Jekyll Mr. Hyde thing, and she put her nose up and said,
She said, "I'll do it again."
Can't stop me. Yeah, she said, "That sign can't stop me. I can't read." Like, answer her phone call. And I'm pretty sure that Magnus
is your phone broke, bro? Right? Are you in a literal dead zone? Like, what are we doing?
Dark. I
would like to think that Magnus.
But you're the responsible adult for children right now. You can't go dark.
It was a terrible idea.
Come on.
It was a terrible idea. And I would like to think Magnus was like, well, I told them to, like, do what they can and like intelligence gather. So at the very least, she's got intelligence for you. You can go dark to a certain extent, but like it's like the thing where like if people call you 3 times in a row, you got to call them back. Like if someone calls me once, whatever. If they call me the voicemail,
right? Like maybe y'all, I think also he's so used to like Amari and his mom not being in this world and not knowing anything about it. Like he's been able to move like that for a long time, and now he can't. But it's like, also, you brought her into this world, child. Like,
right?
She's the reason why you're awake in the first place. She's been doing way more, like, she was in the Great Game. She's been doing some dangerous stuff for some time. Instead of coming back and trying to expect things to be what they were before, like, adapt, dude. You're an agent.
Thank you. So y'all get it.
I get it. I just like, he was not my. I wasn't mentioning it.
He wasn't planning terrorist attacks. Listen, there's no bigger terrorist than a bad older brother who ignores you. Who ignores you when you call, or who doesn't listen.
Dylan is a bad younger brother and a terrorist. So,
do you know what it feels like to have someone not listen to you for 20 some? Well, no, she's not. He's for 12 something. How old am I? Let's not talk about it.
How old am I?
It's fine. It's fine. Might be a little personal. I don't know, but Quentin is bitch.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Thank you for listening. Join us next week when we discuss chapters 16 through 18. Want to join us live? Become a BNC baddie and join our live recordings on Sundays at 2 p.m. Pacific time, the only time. I refuse. Y'all can do the conversion. Timeanddate.com if you don't know when 2 p.m. Pacific time is for your time. Boom.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod and at Black Nerds Create.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.